Yo, what is up, guys? Let's go. It's Sunday night, that means a lot of preparation, a lot of, mental like collectiveness coming into the market week. I always like to get everything planned out the night before. That really gives me the opportunity to enjoy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday most of the day. And before heading to sleep and getting ready for bed, I just sit down, relax, focus in on what I'm going to be doing in the market this week, and then obviously I try to relay that information to you guys so we're all on the same page. Now, I have the SPY chart up here, and I want to go over this first because I think the SPY could go either in one or two directions this week. Um, First, I want to go over the big picture here, and that is the slowing of the volume over the past month and a half. Yes, it is the summer, and volume is typically slower in the summer, but for the way that the price has jumped since this low set here in June, on the way up, we really haven't had any significant volume here. Now, that leads me to ask myself, hey, do the Bulls have the energy to keep this market going? Is this going to sustain? And are all these good earnings going to be another platform for, future market growth? Or are we going to see money start to come off the table here a bit and, eventually start to pull back? It has to happen, like it just has to happen at some point. Right now, in the last, for the last 2 months, it's been almost like all those gap up setups have worked. They've all these long setups are continuously following through. Now, the only way we can really pick up on that is if this week, and like what I mean pick up on it is if things are changing around to the other side, is if we open up tomorrow below last week's high, which was Friday's high. um, I think the odds favor us trading down towards the low of the week, which was down in the 297 range. That's a support from the last 2 weeks. I know this chart's an absolute mess. Please bear with me. It'll come in handy. I promise. So if we open up tomorrow underneath Friday's high, which is the weekly high, I think odds favor us trading down into this lower portion of last week's trading throughout the week. Now, that's not to say that we're going to trade down there in just a Monday session. It's possible, but I don't think that's the case. I think over the course of the week, that is, obviously more of a possibility. Now, obviously, same could go for the upside. I think if we gap above Friday's high, I think we push. I have a target set for my upside target at 303.50. Now, I'll tell you where I got that from. Our top Bollinger Band here on the weekly chart is around 303.50, and if we go to the daily, right now the top Bollinger Band is located at 302.71. So I was giving it a little leeway to stretch maybe to 303, 303.50 as the high potentially. Um, Unless we start to see some sort of consolidation where that really lets this Bollinger Band setup here open up, where we really start to get higher, ranges of trading. But when it starts to get constricted like this, we sort of trade sideways and don't really have a larger trading range. Now, that's why I have that 303.50 as the upside target. And I'll roll with the setup tomorrow if that's the case. If we are gapping up higher tomorrow and gapping up above, Friday's high here, which was set at the end of the day, because of that, if we're gapping up above the daily high, it's bullish. Or if we're opening up above a weekly high on a gap, that's even more of a bullish move. So I'll be looking to roll with that as a gap and go set up tomorrow. Obviously, we have to wait and see what's popping up. Um, but there is a little room on the upside if we get that opportunity. I also think there's going to be room on the downside. So I always like to get myself prepared for whichever way this market's going and really bring that to you guys and, have you guys look at that with an open mind. So far, the futures are below the highs. So as of now, I would also look for a short in tomorrow's session on the SPY and the few other setups I have listed down on my watch list for this week, purely based off setups. So if we open up below Friday's high tomorrow, I'll look for a short. If we open up above it on a gap, I'll look to go long. Obviously, as a day trade, I personally wouldn't be swinging this market as much because I feel as if we're a bit overextended, with that top Bollinger Band being where it is, that constricts price a lot. It is a very key resistance, as you guys have known. I always like to, really dive into those Bollinger Bands because they do play a very key role in trading stocks. Now, I've been ranting about the SPY. I think it's going to be important to really, write down these scenarios down for yourself tomorrow, trading and throughout the week. I have two stocks on the watch list this week. One is going to be AMD. This has been on the watch list for the previous 2 weeks, I want to say, since we've been trading near this resistance at 34.17. It was a previous all-time high. We've been, diving into this setup and into this resistance um, more and more as we've been getting up near this resistance level here at again 34.17. So we've had a tough time throughout the month of June and into July breaking this, and as you see here, we actually ended up closing below that level on the daily chart on Friday's session. So this is going to be interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because we have earnings this week coming out for AMD. Now, I'm not a big guy that'll hold through earnings and pray for something to go in my favor, but if you're possibly trading the market on the long side and want to have some sort of hedge against a downside protection, you could possibly take a lotto put on this position heading into earnings. Obviously, seeing how we trade around this resistance in the next two sessions. I believe AMD releases Tuesday after the market. I'm not sure. I have that schedule I sent into chat earlier, but this is definitely a potential short setup. I have a setup here, support down at 33.49. Below that, we have the 13 EMA. So there's definitely room on the downside for this if we get that move. Um, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Somewhat of a double top two here. Um, Obviously, it's not a double top until we start to get more follow through to the downside. So it's just something to monitor, keep your eyes on, and definitely add some diversification to the portfolio for the week. Remember, earnings this week. Again, going over onto our next setup, Beyond Meat, BYND. Crazy stock as of late, absolute pump and dump. And obviously pump. We can't say dump yet because it hasn't been dumped, but this stock is fucking insane. I wouldn't really recommend trading options on this. Maybe small shares because of the trading ranges. They're fucking ridiculous. From the low, we traded at 215 up to highs at around 240. That's insane. But that's also good if you can manage your risk reward ratio prior to trading this, and get a size that you're comfortable with, and you know your stop loss and where you would exit if you're taking a position. It could be very profitable given that trading range. So what I want to look at here is possibly the move of an overextension. We had a nice consolidation followed by a beautiful breakout. We're deeply outside of our top Bollinger Band, and we had our first red doji candle. Now, this is a setup for me that I would consider going short on, more like a lottery play, similar to the SPY setup. If we gap lower than Friday's high, I'd look to take a little short play here and obviously monitor it for continuation to the downside. Now, if you're trading shares, you don't necessarily have to worry about any sort of decay. You can really let this thing develop. We have support down here from Thursday's low at 205. So we have a lot of room on this setup. And obviously, stop loss is above Friday's high because if you break above that, this stock obviously has more room to run. So I think the risk reward situation on this particular setup is greatly in the trader's favor. If you're comfortable taking a short position like that on a stock like this, now, like I said, it's not okay to try and time tops, but we did have that bearish doji candle, and we are overextended on the our larger time frame. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and I wanted you guys to focus in on that if you're looking for a day trade. I know the options are pretty expensive on this right now, and the spreads are a little wide, so probably better off taking shares on the short side. Now that all of that is out of the way, we have those three setups, four setups if you're going to count the SPYs both ways. There are important things this week that are going to be driving the market aside from the busy earnings schedule. And I saved this for the last for those who are still around watching this and aren't bored yet and really like to, dive into these videos and take all this information and really use it for your own trading. This is going to be very important. Okay, so on August 2nd, this is Friday this week, We have the unemployment rate that comes out at 8:30, and we have the trade deficit that comes out also at 8:30 on Friday. That's going to be big. Those are two big numbers. Now, Wednesday, the 31st, we have the Fed speaking at 2 p.m. and then we have Powell speaking at 2:30. Now, that's going to be important. And you guys all know how important those numbers are going to be. Let's see what the Fed's going to be deciding on. I personally don't think they're going to be cutting rates. The numbers have been solid so far. We haven't really had enough data to support a rate cut. I don't think they're going to change. The market was counting on those rates to be cut, and I personally just don't think that's going to be the case. We'll see. I don't, I can't predict that, but they are going to be speaking Wednesday at 2 p.m. mid-session, so we're going to have opportunities to trade that week. I mean that time, and obviously, like I said, on Friday we have the unemployment rate and the trade deficit. So that's our schedule and our game plan for this week. If this was helpful to you guys, please drop a like on that video, drop a comment. It helps engagement and it helps grow awareness to the page and helps the page grow. So I appreciate that. I'll talk to you guys in chat and let's make some money.